You're allowed, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Welcome everyone to Strategic Priorities Intergovernmental Cooperation Committee, April 28th. I thank you all for being here. We have Councillor Drown online, Councillor Tweel online, Councillor Rivard thought he was going to phone in, but he got tied up. He's going to try and phone in anyway, but as of now, he's not here. We're going to call the meeting to order. Any of the conflicts of interest? None. Approval of the agenda. Moved by the mayor, seconded by Councillor Drown. Thank you. Approval of the minutes. Moved by your worship, seconded by Councillor Drown. Is that okay? Okay.
Mr. Chair, just a point.
Yes.
On the approval agenda, I thought we were looking at the procedural bylaws. Is that somewhere hidden here?
Just give me, you were supposed to be on there, your worship.
Procedural bylaw?
Procedure bylaw.
And you can just add that to.
Yeah, we're going to add that right on, your worship.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was already in there, but I just gone through it. I don't see it here either.
C?
C, yes. If you don't mind. Is that okay, Councillor Drown and Councillor Tweel?
It would be under.
Is there background information with that topic?
It would be 7A.
7A, only chief actuarial officer? Gotcha.
That'd be under business when it's found on the agenda.
It's just going to be for discussion. No, there was no information on that, Councillor Tweel. There's just going to be for discussion and to, like to move it on to council.
Well, with all due respect, if we didn't get the background information, how can we have a discussion so that we can make an informed decision and recommend it on to council?
So the background information, Mr. Chair, if I could just speak.
Yes, you can, sir.
So the background information is that Councillor McCabe made a request at our last regular monthly meeting to amend the procedural bylaw for the Council Advisory Committee, and that is what we're to discuss now. I think she was saying to remove it and to replace it what was in the previous City Council procedures and rules of order bylaw, of which both Councillors Duran and Tweel are familiar with, because this was replaced by the procedural bylaw that was passed in November 30th, 2018,
Yes.
And the second reading on December 4th. So what it's very plain. It's to we recommend to council to replace the CAC, the Council Advisory Committee, which was in the old bylaw for City Council procedures and rules of order under section 14 and subsection 14.1. The mayor may appoint among the members of the council such standing committees as he or she considers appropriate for the better transaction of the business of the council.
Yep.
I don't know what background we need because it was a motion that
It was a motion that was already requested.
and Councilor McCabe wanted to put on, and I believe the CAO at the meeting said it has to go through the appropriate committee. The appropriate standing committee is strategic priorities and intergovernmental cooperation.
Yep.
That's why it's here, sir.
Well, having said that, was there a second to that motion?
There was no need to go to an exec second to that motion because the CAO ruled that has to go back to the appropriate standing committee, of which this committee is, and
Okay.
and everything that was just stated to you is all the background information you need. So,
Okay, well, I have a question on that. I put two motions on the floor too. First motion was for council to be able to collaborate for the HC committee at the time, to be able to collaborate and consult with all members of city council, and that was moved on and passed by our committee.
Right.
I mean, we've been discussing it since last year.
Right.
On that particular motion, and to make changes to the advisory committee, that was the second motion. And, somehow we have a ghostwriter at City Hall that talked to someone at the Guardian, who subsequently contacted Mr. Kelly and ruled those two motions out of order. They go to the AC committee, and then I find out at a later date that this particular committee, the Strategic Planning and Priorities, is the proper committee. So before we go any further, Mr. Kelly, could you clarify?
Just.
No, hold on.
Point of order.
No, I don't want that question.
Point of order, it has to go through the chair. The chair of this committee is Councillor Ramsey, and anything that has to be appropriated to any staff has to go through the chair. So, Mr. Chair, can you make a ruling on that?
Yes, well, listen, that's gonna be under 7A.
Yeah, 7A.
Under new business. So why don't we go through our first 2 or 3 items first, and then we'll have our open discussion on that.
Thank you, sir.
Is that fair, Councillor Drong, Councillor Tweel?
As long as we have the discussion.
We certainly will, sir. That's why it's here. Okay?
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. Okay. At this time, let's go with youth engagement. What they're looking for, they're gonna have a... Sorry, Doug, you wanna take over for that one?
Sure, thank you.
I had it here and I just lost my train of thought here for a second.
No problem. So, yeah, if I may, Mr.
A
Chairman.
form, they're gonna have a form, I'm sorry, yes. Gee.
So, at the last meeting of the strategic priorities, Lucas MacArthur, the chair of the Youth Engagement Committee, presented the details of an upcoming event. So the committee has been hard at work and looks forward to hosting what is called the Youth and Business Mixer at the Startup Zone on Queen Street on Wednesday, May 18th, 2022, and that's from 6 to 8 p.m. So they spoke a little bit about what the goals for that will be. It includes, addressing recommendations from the Youth Retention Report in 2016, creating a youth engagement opportunity, and there's also going to be an opportunity to receive feedback from participants and young business owners, etc., on how the municipality can, perhaps help young entrepreneurs. So it's an event that should be mutually beneficial. Promotion is set to begin quite soon, and we're hoping to have a good turnout at the Startup Zone. We have 5 confirmed speakers from a range of businesses in Charlottetown who are all really thrilled to participate and to share their experience. And so in order to make this event happen, I'm just formally and respectfully requesting $1,500 to cover the venue rental, prizes, honorariums, advertising, food, and some music. There's a draft budget attached to the package that was circulated today. And I'm here to answer any questions and happy to answer them.
Thank you, Doug. Yes, as you recall, I guess Councillor Tweel and Rivard was there too, and Bobby, I believe, or Councillor Drawn, sorry, you're on the line, when Lucas made that presentation to us and went over a few items with the youth retention. And we thought it was a great idea that they're looking at that. And the total cost is $1,500, and it's all broke down here for everybody to see. What's your feelings on it? Like me as chair, I think it's a great idea. But Councillor Drawn?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I don't think I got the email outlining it there. So, but I think
It was, yeah. It was in the package, Bobby, if you got the package from Chantel yesterday. I don't know if you did or not. I know I got it and I read it, but it just is 1, 2, 3, I think there's 6 items. For example, the Startup Zone is charging $150. The door prize is $100. Honorariums for at $100 is $400. Advertising through social media posters, $300. Excuse me. Food provided by Merchant Man is $400, and music for the event with UPI student band, I believe, is $150, with a total cost of $1,500.
yeah, I'm fine with that, Kevin. Thank
Okay.
you.
Well, Councillor Tweel, what's your feelings on that?
You know what? I think this youth engagement committee beginning to do some really good work. I support it. One thing I'd like to bring up, Chair Ramsey, is what really struck me was when they emphasized at the presentation last month when Lucas talked about the jurisdictions and the responsibilities and who's accountable for what services are being provided to the citizens of the city of Charlottetown. And I think that's really important, and what I would like to see is senior management and City Hall assist the Youth Management Committee in truly outlining what are the responsibilities of the city's corporation and what we're responsible. For example, when it comes to housing or, water and sewer, public works, police, fire, all those things. Because what I found really frustrating over the last 3 or 4 years is that there's a tremendous amount of confusion in the community as to what we're actually responsible for, and I think you alluded to it as well, Chair Ramsey. You talked about that as well at our last committee meeting, and I think the boundaries have to be established, and we have to really illustrate and point out what we as city government is responsible for, and what the provincial government is responsible for, and what the federal government is responsible for. I think that's so important. That's made crystal clear. I really do.
Yes. Yes, and I agree, because we brought that up with Lucas about for example, the affordable housing, things along that line. So what I'll do, Councillor Trio, with the committee's blessing, is that maybe Doug and I and senior manager will sit down and just tell them what we are responsible for and what they can bring back to their committee, so they're not all over the pond like everybody else also. So that's a good idea. So Doug, maybe someday we'll have a little chat. Is that okay with you?
Happy to.
Yeah. So,
Mr. Chair,
I'm sorry, Your Worship.
Mr. Chair, I'm just looking at the objective stuff for the event. Excellent, and that's why I needed
Yes.
clarification on one of them.
Yes.
But to hear from young business owners, I look at the 3 young women that were on the 5th wave down here. Kudos to them. They were employed by a well-established coffee business at Starbucks. They're on their own now, and they're facing all the challenges of being in businesses, working with landlords, working with the municipal bylaws, which we need to be helping out, because if we want to talk about what we're responsible for, zoning and development bylaws are what we're responsible for. And I think when we talk to the youth, when we address that, bring up the issue of short-term rentals, you'll hear loud and clear from them that we need a framework in place. And the council, when they voted on it, I think heard those voices, because that was one of the strong points they made when we were talking about, how, what responsibility do we have as a municipality. But I do want to say one thing, Mr. Chair. It's the second last point, share information about important themes, and it has one theme: how WFH has affected businesses. So I asked Doug, what does that abbreviation stand for or represent? Working from home. And I think that is crucial.
Yes.
That part of this public forum, because Doug knows from coming from Ottawa how the working from home policy has affected downtown Ottawa. It's affecting Halifax, Moncton, and you know what? It's affecting Charlottetown. So let's see how we can make this a hybrid, or let's hear the discussion. And I'll be very much interested. And hopefully, Mr. Chair, members of this committee will be able to attend Wednesday, May 18th, 2022, from 6 to 8 p.m. So I believe it's a public event, or is it just for youth?
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
No,
so I'm going to ask.
Yes, go right ahead, Doug.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so the event is kind of being framed as a by youth for youth event. So it's really an opportunity for youth to get together and stuff. But that being said, we are hoping to include a feedback mechanism, so a form or a follow-up email to those who sign up to just ask their opinions. And we'll also hear from the speakers, including the 2 owners of the 5th Wave Coffee Shop who are present. So while the event is for youth specifically, I would say that we will be able to provide some written feedback and some direct responses if that's amenable to.
So in person, no, but feedback written, yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that's good too, because that's to carry on, so we can follow up on certain things and with them and all that. I think it's a great idea. And Your Worship, just to, I don't want to go on with this a whole lot, but talking to a businessman in Charlottetown, since the pandemic started, there's anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 people not heading into the city every day. Because, and that's affecting the barber shops, their hairstyling, the coffee shops, your restaurants. So, but that's not our call anyway, that's the federal call, like that's the provincial call. they think they're saving money by keeping people home and things along that line, but I just want to bring that point up that this businessman told me last summer, in fact, that that's the amount of people with the federal and all that, they're not coming to Charlotte. So that affects everybody.
And Mr. Chair, if I could just say that the conference I attended in January, Canadian Urban Institute, conference on downtowns, revitalizing downtowns. Toronto was part of it. Some U.S. American cities were part of this forum. They're looking at rejuvenating, reinvigorating their downtowns.
Yes.
By looking at those commercial places that have been vacated and may not be or open for business in the future, to turn them and convert them into residential.
I read that
properties.
myself, yes.
So what does that mean? It means start bringing downtown neighborhoods back into our city core.
Right.
Because I grew up in this city core and I remember those days.
You're not that
Thank
old,
you,
right?
Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any, Councilor Drong, any concerns for Doug or questions for Doug Dumas?
I'm great, thank you, Kevin.
Councilor Twill?
Just want to go back to the jurisdictional responsibilities and accountabilities. I know you're going to meet with Doug, and I think that's a great idea. Could you send us out a copy of what the responsibilities are for each jurisdiction in terms of the city and the province and the fed, so there's no confusion. I want to try, Chair Ramsey, I want to try to eliminate the misconceptions and the confusion, so that that regardless if you're in the public sector, the private sector, you're a senior citizen, you're involved with the youth in our city, so they know truly what we're accountable and responsible for. I think we need to clarify that and make it crystal clear. The last few years, the waters have been muddy, and there's just so much confusion.
Yes.
Chair Ramsey. So we have to eliminate the misconceptions and misperceptions.
I agree with this, so Doug's gonna take a note on that, what you're looking for, and then we're going to, once we sit down and have a little chat, we'll break it all down, and then we'll send it out to our committee. How's that?
I appreciate that, sir. Thank you.
It's not a problem, sir. Thank you very much for your comments. Okay, that's it for the youth engagement, I believe. Douglas, thank you very much. And you and I will chat, and probably Mr. Kelly, and just sort of break it down and go from there, and just say, okay, folks, this is what your job is, this is what our job is, this is what the city's in charge of, and things along that line, and then we'll have it all on print for them.
So the funding is good, we're good.
The funding is fantastic, yes.
Green light.
Green light, sir.
I'd love to go to the party, but I gotta run. Send us an email.
Oh, yeah, this is one time for too old. Okay, thank you, Doug.
Thanks, Doug. Stay safe, be smart, stay apart.
Okay, the next one on the agenda is the appointment of the municipal elections. This is what goes on every 4 years. We're looking to, it goes through our committee to appoint the chief electoral officer and the deputy electoral officer. So, did everybody get their, I don't know, is there anything in the package?
Mr. Chair, is there
Yeah.
not an amendment that we have to add to it, because it says that the city of Charlottetown requests elections PI to oversee and run the city of Charlottetown municipal election.
You have to add the
November
date.
7th,
You just have to add the November.
so November 7th, 2022.
Okay.
So that has to be added.
Yes,
That's E-Day.
that's the big day.
Is that right, Chantel?
Yes.
So just,
So the names are, I believe, are on the table, is Tim Garrity and, sorry Chantel, what was the other name?
Stephanie Thorpe. And
Stephanie.
They are employed through Elections PEI.
Yes, and they are employed through Elections PEI. So does anyone have any saying about that, or any qualms about that? Like, they did the last election also, right?
we've done them since,
Yeah, they've been doing them forever. So Councilor Twill, you okay with those two names being moved forward?
Absolutely.
Yes, how about you, Councilor Drum?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, just a question on the Chantel, maybe you know it, or Mr. Kelly, cost-wise, do we know what it costs for the 2018 election?
We do have those cautious, we thought we would be going to electronic and the cost would increase.
But we're not doing electronic.
No, so we're doing the standard.
In person.
I don't have that here, but I can get over to the committee.
Could you please provide that?
Yeah.
For the 2018, and if you don't mind, the 2014 and 2010.
So we pay for our own election, do we, Mr. Kelly?
We paid to the elections PEI.
Right.
And they run it for Summerside, Stratford, Cornwall, and we paid for those services.
And, okay, like every municipality, there's a different wage scale anyway, right? Because of the size of it? Right, okay. Yeah, it's sort of nice to have those numbers too, just so we know, right? But that's part of doing business every 4 years, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Okay, excellent, thank you, gentlemen. Okay, under new business, I believe we have just that one issue, is it?
Procedural bylaw.
Yes, procedure bylaw?
Yes.
So the intent, Mr. Chair, is to change section 42.
Section, what section, Mr. Kelly?
42,
42.
which is committees of council.
Right.
So changing from what I understand from discussion at council, there would be some degree of support to replace the CAC with the formal process of the mayor.
Under section 14, subsection 14.1.
Under the former Shell County.
It was under the city council procedures and rules of order bylaw.
So if that's the wish, we would extrapolate most of that.
Correct.
Updated for terminologies, and if the issues of Councillor Tweel wishes to be integrated in that processorship, whereby the mayor would meet with individual councillors to get their preferences, and we could work that in.
Correct. I can tell you, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Chair, if I could just
Yes,
address what he said.
no, go ahead.
When I was on council in 2001 and then re-elected for 2004, Mayor George McDonald for 2001 to 2003 sat down with all the councillors, talked to what their interests were, where did they think they could add to the function and the role of council through the standing committees, and then he made his choices. When I was re-elected and served from 2004 to 2006, Mayor Lee sat down with all the councillors, sat down with me, and we sat down with all the councillors to discuss, here are the 10 standing committees, what is your interest, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and then he took that information and developed the committees. The same format was going to be used if it was in place back in 2018. That's why, Mr. Chair, you recall, immediately after the election, I know I called Councillors Duran and Councillor Tweel and yourself that, what are your interests, where do you think we made that overture or that extension of let's work collaboratively, cooperatively, and try to find consensus. Would be no different going into the future with this change.
No, like, and I agree with Councillor Tweel or Councillor Rivard, whoever brought it up, or even Councillor Drong, through the times. Like, I have no issues with this going back to the old way, because I know when Councillor Drong and I were both elected in 2014, Mayor Lee at the time did exactly what you said. He came in and he asked you what your interests are and everything, but it's still at the same point, he's not saying you're going to get everything you want. But at the same time, you had a chance to view and to say what you felt you were more comfortable with sitting at.
Correct.
And I think it's a good procedure. I think that everybody should have their input, and they should be able to sit down with the mayor, if this goes through with council, and say, well, I feel like I'm more stronger in this situation. I don't think I'm strong in this certain thing. So I have no problems with it. I think it's a great idea to have it sit on your desk again, your worship.
Or the office of the mayor.
Yeah, or the office of the mayor, yes, and then go from there. Councillor Drong.
And so,
I'm sorry, can you hang on, Bob?
and I think what Councillor Tweel is asking for is that it actually be entrenched as part of the process, your worship. So it does give the appointments back to the mayor's office, but it also.
It's a very consultative.
Right.
Entrenches that Councillor Tweel pointed out that each councillor will be
Consultant.
consultant.
And that's a great idea. Because you shouldn't be just thrown to the wolves all the time. Oh, okay, Councillor Drong, what's your feelings on that?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, Councillor Twill?
Well, you know, it's great to say, go back to the mayor's, send it back to the mayor's office. I know I've met with this current mayor. You know, we had a meeting. Some of the committees I expressed an interest in, the chair said those committees were gone, that they weren't available. So the reason why I supported having this new procedure, the advisory committee, was that all the council would be consulted with individually, collectively. Now, a year and a half ago, when they changed the committees, which they didn't have to, it was just a review, they didn't have to.
Correct.
So it came in with, changes where we weren't consulted. So, to my mind, that was violated, that trust and that spirit and that harmony and cooperation was violated, and that we weren't consulted. And then you keep reading in the press, well, we don't have to consult. Well, I beg to differ. That was the whole purpose of the advisory committee, was to consult. Now, I would even argue some members were consulted, and all you have to do is look at the makeup of the committees. I believe that when you have a collaboration of 10 councilors in a room, sitting down, working together, to my mind, reaching consensus, reaching a conclusion where it's open and transparent, everyone can see and understand fully where the strengths and their weaknesses are, and where they would like to participate on, and where they feel that reaching their full potential would be advantageous for the city overall. So that's why I've been bringing that up consistently over the last year or so. I don't know why there's a hesitation as to having all 10 councillors involved in the process, where we're sitting in a room and working collaboratively together.
No problem.
I would think that's the most effective way to approach this, Chair Ramsey.
Okay,
Mr. Chair?
go ahead, Your Worship.
Again, I think what was mentioned by the councillor from Ward 4 is that we spoke after I was elected to get on, the committees he was looking at.
Mhm.
But there was also a process going on at the same time, and that process was to change to overhaul the city council procedures and rules of order bylaw, to replace it with the procedural bylaw that includes section 42. So we did discuss some of the committees he was interested in. So then when the CAC was brought in, I still remember being here in December when we did name the committees. And Councillor Twill got up that night and wanted to thank each and every member of the Council Advisory Committee for getting what he wanted. Parks and Recreation, Public Works, he did get what he wanted. But again, the point I'm making is that in the past, that discussion of where you would go was a discussion between the office of the mayor and the councillor. There was no big group discussion. We've looked at the last 4 years. The group discussion with 4 councillors and the mayor has not produced the best results. And since 1855 up until 2018, this procedure under the old city council procedures and rules of order bylaw, section 14.1, worked. And I believe, and I've been told by former councillors that why was it changed? Because the MGA, the Municipal Government Act, made this change. Well, Summerside didn't make that change. Stratford didn't make that change. Cornwall didn't make that change. We thought we'd be avant-garde and try something new. Tried. I don't think it was successful. Now to go back and revamp it, to say the CAC will be all 10 members of council,
No.
you know yourself, this chamber is made up of 10 different wards. I had Colonel Gray High School students in this morning from Mr. Thane Arsenault's legal law class, and I said, what you have here are 10 parties.
Yeah.
10 parties representing 10 distinctly different wards, electoral wards, and that's the beauty of it. But to try to get us together on who's gonna go where, the process was working from 1855 to 2009, 2018. Again, no blame on what happened in that fall of 2018. It's now moving forward. And I'm suggesting, Mr. Chair, or I'm making a recommendation. I want to put a motion on the floor that we replace section 43.3 of this procedural bylaw and replace it with the conditions or the extension that Councillor Tweel asked for, consultation with the councillors, all councillors, before the decision was made. So I want to put that resolution on the floor.
Section 42, which I think we would take out and put. in
Section 42 or 43?
42.
42.
Yeah, 42 comes out.
Extrapolate and update the version in the previous.
So I'd like to put that resolution on the floor.
Yep.
And I need a second.
Councillor John, would you like to second that?
No, not this time.
What's that?
Not this time.
So you don't want to do, okay. So the discussion to me is over because there's no resolution on the floor. Mr. Chair, could you please do me a favor?
Yes, sir.
In your report to council at the regular monthly meeting in May, I'd like to, again, we can go through the recordings. I thought there was there was support for it because that was the direction we're going. But let council, the recommendation going to council is let council decide.
Yes, so the recommendation, if I get it straight here, is that it's going to it's going to council, and council's going to decide whether the mayor makes those appointments or not. Am I correct? The office of the mayor?
That also should be done.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Hold on, one sec, Councilor Trail. Yeah, just one sec.
So if we're going to recommend it, then that should be passed by.
Yeah.
Okay?
Point of order.
Okay, go. What's your point of order, sir?
Point of order is, the mayor who moved the motion on this committee didn't get a seconder.
No. That
Didn't
motion's
get a
gone.
seconder, so therefore,
That
the
motion's
motion or the
gone.
recommendation doesn't come forward from the committee.
No.
Isn't that correct, Mr. Kelly?
No, Mr. Chair, just if I can
I
respond.
asked Mr. Kelly a question.
His point of order is, Mr. Chair. is
No,
the
I asked
motion's now
Mr.
off
Kelly
the
a
floor.
question.
The motion's off the floor now. The motion that I want to put on the floor is that we recommend that council make a decision on this. So I'm moving that motion, that council makes a decision on this. I need a seconder.
Now, the first motion was
Removed.
removed, Councillor Tweel, because we didn't have a seconder.
That's right.
But the second one is just to move this on to council's review, to vote on this, whether it stays the same way, status quo, or it goes up to the mayor's office. That's what we're looking for right now.
I want to go back to the motion I've been bringing forward for the last year or so, and I'd like to modify that as well.
No,
So I won't be seconding this motion, no.
Councilor. I need a seconder.
Councillor Drawn, what's your feeling about sending it back to the mayor's office? No, I'm sorry, to send it to council first and have council go over it, and then if it passes, it goes to the mayor's office as it always did the past 100 years.
But the motion on the floor, Mr. Chair, is that if I heard the mayor,
Yes.
it is to move the decision on to council, not to discuss it, to be ahead.
So
Exactly.
the motion is very clear, to move this discussion onto the floor of council. I need a second. This is the discussion, and that could include what Councillor Tweel is suggesting, by all of council making a decision or referring it back to the office. So I need a seconder to move it up to council. I think Councillor Tweel has said no.
Do we have a seconder, Councillor Drawn?
Not at this time.
So where do we go now, Councillor?
That's what I'm just trying to figure out, where do we go now? Like, he's brought this up and you just wanted to, and everyone didn't think, hold on one sec, and you didn't think it was fair and along this line, so now we want to move it on to council and sort of say to CAC, you do not have the authority anymore, and we want to have an open discussion with council, and now all of a sudden you just don't want it. I really don't know where we're at with this right now.
Well, I guess what the confusing part is, the mayor wrote the motion,
Yeah.
right?
Take
Wants to vote the power back to the mayor's office,
Right.
he didn't get a seconder.
Right.
I want to put the motion on the floor that we have a full, look, I've been saying all along, Councilor Ramsey, it's not a new revelation, to have all members of city council sit in a room and collaborate and consult with one another, and we do it in an open and transparent fashion. So I'll move that and move it on to city council.
So just to be clear, Mr. Chair, so,
Can you speak loud, sir?
If you mind just clarifying, Councillor Creel, is it that you're asking for that the council advisory committee shall consist of the mayor and 10 members of the council? Is that what you're asking?
Well, you know, I mean, I do agree with the mayor that the last 2 years, the council advisory committee has not been working in harmony and collectively with all members of council. They might have with some members of council, because all you have to do is look at how the committees are stacked. I think that, you know, we try a much broader approach where all members of city council are in the room collectively, and we sit down and we go over the chairs and we go over the committees that we wish to participate on, and we're all there together, working harmlessly, working collectively, collaborating all together. And to my mind, that's the first step forward in building a united and cohesive council. So I'll move that, and yes, part of that motion would be to eliminate the advisory committee.
If that's the approach, Council, then you have to delineate more, because we have to find a process to establish committees and the appointments to those committees. And again, if you are wanting all of council to participate, then maybe the best way is to have the committee who will discuss all committees and all appointments for their council positions to be including all members of council. So it would read that the council advisory committee shall consist of the mayor and all 10 members of council. So they would be the ones, as you said, who would sit around the table and have that discussion. But it also keeps everything else in play of how you appoint. And so all those appointments of committees and the council to those committees would be done by all of the council through that structure. So it does get to where you want to go, but it also keeps some structure, defined structure in place.
Well, thank you, Mr. Kelly, but with all due respect, sir, I mean, I do agree, we should eliminate the advisory committee because it's been totally ineffective. I just think you just wipe out that layer or that particular committee, and put the onus and the responsibility and accountability on all members of city council, where we sit in a room and we have one item on the agenda and we're collaboratively and collectively together. That's how, to my mind, we build a cohesive and united council, where it's done in an open, transparent form, where you don't have, 2 or 3 members of a committee, saying, okay, we're going to put this individual here, this individual councilor there. I think you need to eliminate that because it hasn't worked the last 2 years. So I want to try a new, fresh approach. A new, fresh approach where all members of city council are in the room at the same time, working simultaneously together.
Mr. Chair, again, could I just...
Yes, go ahead.
Again, we tried the model with 4 councillors and the mayor. In the first round, everybody was happy. All councillors were happy. I still remember
That's right.
coming from the floor, thank you very much. The second round, it didn't happen. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take 4, add 6 more, and we're going to slug it out here and make sure I got this. So the loudest voice is going to get what he or she wants, or who pushes the hardest. Again, the process worked. Councillor Tweel knows the process worked. He sat on council from 1994, 1995 up until now, and he's been through 3 mayors. He knows that the process worked. And then to say that when I met with him, no. When I met with him, the other process was already in place, which he voted on, and here we are today trying to say it didn't work. And I say, as I said, I will not be supporting this resolution because is there a resolution on the floor? I'm sure there is.
Anyway, Mr. Chairman, the motion's on the floor. I look for a seconder, sir.
So just a point of clarification, Councillor, without definition and without structure in place, I pose the following questions. Who's going to establish committees, Councillor?
All members of city council will meet, will meet collectively,
Yeah.
we will collaborate collectively, we will consult with one another collectively, and we'll do it at the same time simultaneously. It's a much more open, accountable, and transparent approach. And I think it's healthier, and it's a new, fresh way of doing business. Mr. Kelly?
But who's bringing forth the recommendations for council's discussion, Councillor? I mean, you can't just have a free-for-all, you have to have some point of debate.
It's not a
and/or
free-for-all, sir.
discussion.
No, you know what, I have to disagree with the characterization, Mr. Kelly. I believe that
It's a question.
I believe that we can work collectively together when we're all in the same room, working harmoniously and working side by side. To my mind, that's much more effective.
Well,
So the motion's on the floor, Mr. Kelly.
I think you should we should refer back to.
Motion's on the floor.
I think before it goes ahead, we need to.
seconded by who?
Me.
Running the legalist?
Seconded Council Braun, okay.
I don't know if it's legally right to do that. Do we have to get an input on that? And, like, I really don't know.
If I could add, Mr.
Like, I'm basically blown away from this, because I heard that the CAC was not working the last 2 years, and I agree to some points of Councillor Squeal when he said, and it was only stated in the CAC bylaws that they were willing to look at everyone in 2 years' time. Doesn't mean they had to change things around. Like, they could have left things the same way they were, and I always had an issue with that. But then again, at the same time, what you're suggesting, Councillor Tweel, in my view, this is just my view, is that we all sit around and you know there's going to be an argument, or there's going to be this, there's going to be that, but if it went to the mayor's office, for example, and he sat down with me and said, Councillor Ramsey, what would you like? And then at the end of the day, I didn't get what I liked, well, at least you basically knew, but get in here with a shouty match and saying, well, how come he got this? And I mean, like, it's almost falling back to junior high days, and because we've all seen it for a while. We gotta just, and I agree, we gotta do it harmoniously, and we gotta do it peacefully and all that stuff, but to put 10 voices in one room, and who's gonna chair that?
Yeah, but, oh no, again, we
Well,
had 4 voices, we had,
The
Mr. Chair,
motion's on the floor.
we had 4.
And you know what, with all due
We had
respect,
4 voices.
you can't make those assumptions.
Yeah.
Let's
Yes, you
try
can.
a collective approach.
Yeah.
The motion's on the floor, we have a seconder.
We had,
I call the question.
no, we have 4 voices now on the CAC with the mayor, and it's not working for some, working for others, that's what we're being told. Now we're gonna say, take that 4, make it 10, and we're gonna make it work. And then the chair, we haven't decided who the chair is, because we'll just,
First is there.
yeah, we'll make that an open option too. I'm not for this resolution, I will be voting against it.
Okay.
And
The motion's on-
again,
Question solved,
Mr.
Mr.
Chair,
Chairman.
I'm
The question
disappointed
is solved,
that
sir.
it's come to this point where
Question
we went through a new experiment, and for some it didn't work, now we want to try a new experiment.
Okay.
It's something that worked from
Question solved.
1855 to 1918, and I'm very surprised.
Yeah.
Okay, the question's called.
Okay.
What the hell's the question?
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so,
Contrary?
and the mayor is opposed. What do we do from here, Mr. Cully?
Again, we'll go back to council and some, although we're not sure what he's asking, other than the council appointment, or will be discussed what committees, if any, what appointment, if any. There's no structure here, it's gonna be
It's a wide open game.
I I think it's going to cause issues. I will seek legal counsel on this, because I don't think it is.
Mr. Kelly, with all due respect, sir, motion was passed.
And even with that, Council Creel, I will still seek legal counsel to ensure that council is doing the right things with the proper rules and
Yeah.
norms.
Okay.
My
Yeah.
God.
I go back to an email that was sent to us last night by a former employee. Let's stop the going after each other. Let's look at working, going together. Again, Mr.
That's
Chair,
what we're trying to do here, Mr. Mayor.
it's all about
That's what we're trying
collaboration,
to do, sir.
cooperation, consensus. But just
Yeah.
to have these agendas that are not good for the corporation is, again, clearly displayed today. So
Anyway.
again, that's why I
Motion
need
carried.
to.
Okay, we're gonna check, okay?
Thank you. 2-1, right, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, it is.
Could you please read out who's in favor?
Councilor Johns voted in favor, and Councilor Twill voted in favor, and Mayor Brown opposed.
Opposed.
Okay, thank you.
What's that?
We ask for a recorded vote.
Yes, I want that as a recorded vote.
Yeah,
Please.
that's recorded vote.
Recorded.
Yeah, we got
I
it.
want to make sure it's in the minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you for that discussion, gentlemen, and as Mr. Kelly said too, you know, we're gonna have to make sure the i's are dotted and t's are crossed on this thing, so he's gonna check with Karen. Okay, anything else?
Nope. Move to adjourn, sir.
Okay, I need a motion to move, to adjourn,
I move it.
and second by Councilor, Mayor Brown, sorry.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.